Welcome to Thrive in Design, a podcast about making money and beautiful interiors as it relates to product-based businesses in the interior design industry. Each week, we'll discuss innovative strategies on how to approach product development and design sales in a shifting market. I'm your host, Nicole Lachey Ben. Welcome back to the Thrive in Design podcast, your go-to source for exploring the latest trends and innovations in interior design. Today, I am thrilled to introduce a true visionary in the world of home decor. Our guest today is Norman Wyatt Jr., an esteemed artist and designer who has been shaping the home decor industry for over 2 decades. Hailing from Virginia, Norman finds inspiration in the rich hues, textures, and natural beauty of his surroundings. His portfolio ranges from misty coastal scenes to eclectic abstracts and earthy landscapes, showcasing a remarkable breadth of painting styles and subjects. In 2017, Norman established his own home decor brand, Norman Wyatt Home, after years of creating trend-forward wall decor. Recently, he made waves by partnering with Stylecraft to launch a complete Norman Wyatt home decor lifestyle collection. This includes everything from wall decor and lamps to furniture, mirrors, pillows, and accessories, all designed by Norman himself. Norman currently resides in Virginia with Makita, his wife of 25 years, and their 3 creative children, Elisha, a graphic artist and aspiring fashion designer, Joshua, an animator and music producer, and Lydia, a ballerina and watercolorist. Join us as we dive into Norman's journey from his artistic aspirations to his latest ventures in home decor. Get ready to be inspired. Welcome to the show, Norman.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so excited, and I was really excited to cross paths with you at this past High Point Market in spring 2024, and here we are on this podcast episode.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So let's dive in with sharing a little bit about your journey. I know you've been in the game for over 2 decades, but can you share what initially inspired you to become an artist, and how did your journey begin?
So I literally have been creating art since I was 3 or 4, and artwork has always been just part of my life. I remember going to the elementary school when I was in 2nd grade and they didn't have an art teacher. So to keep the gifted kids going, or to keep them, interested and actively working in what they created or what they were doing, they sent me to the high school to take art with the seniors and the juniors. So here I was, 8-year-old in a classroom full of 17, 18-year-olds doing artwork. So I just knew from early childhood that art was my major thing. I did well academically and all that too, but artwork was just my passion. So when it came down to, going to high school, being in gifted arts and winning awards and different competitions and things like that, being in newspapers and just always having some type of accolades and being a fine artist, I knew that I wanted to pursue fine art as a career.
Yeah.
It just was something that was always in me from childhood, and it was nothing that I ever thought of doing else, anything else besides doing artwork.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now that's making me want to sign up my son for some music classes in high school. I'm like,
yeah,
we got to start you now.
If it's there, the more exposure and the more, that they're putting into that environment, the better for them.
Yeah. And one thing I was really intrigued about from our last conversation is just how you have approached art in a very innovative way, and you've been able to really make it a business that has brought in tons of revenue for you. Because I think a lot of the times when people think of artists, the main thing that people think is starving artists.
Starving artists. Yeah, of course.
And that does not have to be everybody's story. So over the last 20 years as a fine artist, what strategies have you really used to really make your art into a business and a source for revenue for yourself and your family?
So I have been through that starving artist stage. A lot of people use that in a derogatory way, almost looking down on the fact that you're trying to do something creative for a career. I've had family members tell me, you got to let that go. You got to take care of your family. You have to have a strong income. But for me, I would say my faith is really strong, right? So it starts with that. So my faith and believing, first of all, that it was possible. And I knew that these gifts that were put inside of me were not just for fun or just to be there. I knew it was something I was supposed to use them for. the big question was, how do I turn this into a career? How do I make a good living off of it? How do I make an income off of creating? So my story is kind of like a book, but I actually started off as an art teacher for elementary kids, K through 4.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was teaching, I literally had a table in my classroom. And if there weren't any classes going on, if I had a long break or one of those days where there were pretty much like one class, I was just constantly painting and creating, just always painting and trying to keep my skills going and just trying to, get what was inside out of me on paper or on canvas or whatever. And after a while, I had a huge portfolio of artwork that I had done at school while I was teaching. And, I knew of art publishing and things like that because of being a picture framer while I was in college. And I literally knew that some artists were making a living off of reproductions and the whole, art publishing world. So I did some research and looked around at a lot of different publishers. Then I finally submitted to a company. I got turned down the first time. I was like, wow, kept working on some new stuff. Maybe like 4 or 5 months later, submitted to another company and they immediately signed me. It was almost like they were waiting on something new and fresh. And they told me like, the timing was just so perfect when I submitted. So I got a contract. So as far as like making a living off of it, that was my first chance or my first opportunity to see that, you can make royalties off of artwork. Then the same company offered me a separate art licensing contract. And they exposed me to the fact that you have companies and manufacturers that are looking for artwork and designs and patterns to use for their products, and they will pay you another royalty. So, that initial art publishing contract in 2004 opened my eyes to the possibilities. So fast forward it, after years of doing that and working with one company exclusively, and, I had so much art inside of me and so many ideas that one company couldn't contain what I had inside of me. I realized, you know what? I need to adjust my contract and redo my overall plan of how I want to do business. And since I do so much art and so many different looks and styles, it should be possible for me to work with multiple companies at the same time. So I went from one art publishing contract to at one point, maybe like 5 or 6 different affiliations with different publishers, putting my art in different places all simultaneously. And I just had exclusive by design contracts with them, which I literally, honestly, I prayed and asked God for insight and vision on how to do this business and how to do something different and how to make sure that I was covered in all ways. So I was getting royalties sometimes, 4 or 5 different companies paying me every month at the same time. So, I easily went from, a starving artist to making 6 figures off of art that I was creating right in my home.
Wow.
So just a new concept, not really new, but just doing something in a different way and having control of how I wanted to do it.
Yeah. And so let's stop there real quick for like a quick lesson, because I feel like a lot of people, and I was talking with Stacey Garcia on one of our past episodes, a couple episodes ago, about just like licensing in general. Break down the difference between what is a publishing deal and a licensing deal, and like what is the difference between for you?
So our publishing, just like it sounds, you will make a deal with a company or you have a contract with a company where they literally take your original artwork and reproduce it or mass produce it in different ways. Their job is to sell it, place it in stores, hotels, wherever artwork is needed, online sales. And then they will pay the artist a royalty or percentage based on the sales for the month. And some companies pay quarterly. So you pretty much get a percentage of everything that you create with that company. When they sell it, they pay you a percentage. That's the whole art side. And it's different levels of companies. Some of them are selling to, big box stores where it's a much smaller percentage that you get or a smaller amount. But then the volume is there usually where it might be 1,800 stores or 2,000 stores. And you still end up, selling 4,000 or 5,000 reproductions at once. And then you have some other companies where it might be more of a higher end brand where they sell to smaller places or more boutique type places or, higher end stores where a large order might be 300, but then those prints or those reproductions on canvas or whatever might be selling for $500, $600, $700, $1,000. So your percentage is higher. So it still balances out. Product licensing is similar to the artwork, but companies that manufacture all types of products that you can imagine. And a lot of stuff you can't even imagine that artwork is needed for, but rugs, lampshades, shower curtains, tablecloths, textiles, they're so broad. And these companies have, a lot of times they have in-house studios and in-house artists that create for them on a regular basis. but then they also always constantly looking for new outside designs, new fresh ideas that their designers are doing. And some of it is just they need more and more. So just similar to the art publishing contract, these manufacturers will use your artwork, your patterns, your designs, whatever it is, use it on their products and then pay you a royalty or percentage of everything that your artwork is on. Usually it could be monthly royalties, it can be quarterly, just depends on the contract. So imagine having the fine art sales going and then the product licensing sales going at the same time. And then imagine having thousands of images that are out in the market that you've done over the years, constantly being shopped and used and picked up. So the artist can make a really good living off of the whole, licensing and publishing side.
Yeah.
If they know about it. That's a big deal.
If they know about it, because that's the part. If they know about it. And I hope that many artists and designers listening to this episode get inspired, because I know just in my conversations with you and Stacey, I'm like, I've been honestly sleeping on myself. Even this weekend, I was like rehanging artwork in my house, and most of the artwork in my home I've done myself. I've only had 2 prints that I bought of my favorite artists,
awesome.
Degas and Monet. Like those are my favorite. I love Impressionism. And so those are only prints. And then everything else I've done myself. And I've just kept things in my home. So even our conversation, I'm like, I think I've been sleeping on things.
You'd be surprised how many artists and creatives and instructors and professors and just people in the creative world don't even know about this. And I've been doing it for 20 years. And it's still some artists I talk to maybe on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. And or LinkedIn, and I'll bring it up. And they're like, what is that? It's just a matter of just, if you don't know anything about it, how can you be involved,
For sure. Yeah. Well, I hope many people hear this episode and they get inspired for sure.
Thank you.
At Thrive in Design, we help interior product companies in crafting compelling online and offline go-to-market strategies, enabling them to enhance their brand visibility and revenue within the hospitality design segment. We're taking on new clients. If this podcast has been intriguing to you, let's chat about how our team can help you thrive in 2024 and beyond. Head to thriveindesign.co/contact. All right, so let's go into this amazing collaboration that you just did with Stylecraft. And I'm so excited that I got to be at the launch of this collection. And this was like your first big collection of interior products. So tell me, what was your inspiration behind that collection? And tell us more about what that process looked like to go from just sketches all the way to hundreds. I think you said over 100 SKUs of different products.
I ended up having 153 in my launch. So that's kind of unusual, but so it's amazing because my many years of training and, taking art direction and having to constantly evolve and reinvent myself, providing artwork for the decor industry really helped me when it came down to this whole process of designing products. So like I said, I've had some licensing deals in the past where companies have used my artwork for various products. Shower curtains, I did some rugs, some bedding, but this is my first time actually creating and designing specifically for this whole lifestyle collection and for these products. And now we're talking about products like furniture, chairs, sofas, lamps, mirrors, sideboards, dressers, accessories, gift boxes. It just keeps going. And, as far as, my inspiration, my whole goal was, okay, it's very rare to find a fine artist that's doing this type of thing. Most of the time it would be an interior designer or a product designer or, someone like a celebrity or someone that has some type of following or a big presence in the home decor market or even like real estate or anything like that, just design in general. And a lot of times they curate or they work with a designer or an artist or someone that's working with them to translate their ideas into these products, the drawings, the sketches, the renderings, and then the products are made. But for me, everything was coming from me. And so my goal was, okay, I'm a fine artist first, but for years I've had all these thoughts of furniture and lamps, and I've always wanted to design all these different products, but, didn't really have the access or the opportunity. So I was trying to make sure, okay, if I create this collection, I want people to know that I'm a fine artist, but I don't want everything to look like it's all fine art. I don't want patterns and color and shapes and everything to look like it's too eclectic and too artistic. I still wanted high-end modern design with a slight artistic flair. You mentioned Stacey Garcia,
Yeah.
mutual friend. She described my look as refined artistry. So, it really helped me define where I was going with everything because, like I said, I wanted to show that it's still modern. It's on trend. Matter of fact, ahead of trend, and something that, the average client or customer can put in their home and be excited to put in their home, but also not too out there that it would limit the reach, if that makes sense. So the years of sketching and drawing abilities with the fine art really helped when it came down to designing the products, because being a fine artist first, I didn't need anyone to translate what I was thinking about for a lamp or a sofa or a dresser. If I had this idea or an idea of how I wanted a coastal lamp to look, I could draw it out myself and play around with the sketch until I had the idea. And it literally helped out so much because it was a whole step removed when it came down to product development with Stylecraft. They could take my full advanced high-end fine art or my drawing of the product and in details with all the shading and the texture and everything of how I wanted it to look with my details and all my description of the materials and things like that, and go straight from that to the graphic rendering right to actual tooling or the sampling or the making of the product. So so that was why, because it was a whole step removed, I was able to get 100+ products launched, because I kept putting out products and ideas and concepts that the CEO loved. And he was like, let's make all of it. So
I love
it
that.
was a blessing. So all those years of training, 20 years of fine art training, just really helped, create this system of working and creating and designing and developing these concepts, and to allow me to get a lot of things created at a smaller amount of time than normal.
Yeah. And so for you, do you feel like there were any challenges in that process in launching 150+ products in this collection? You are a brilliant mind in like creating the sketches, and you had an amazing partnership of a company that had the bandwidth and capacity to just like bring those sketches to life. But were there any challenges along the way that you can share in that process?
So I honestly probably have already designed 400 products.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, the rest of them are just in the process of being made and going through. When I get going, it's nonstop. The flow just keeps going. The challenges, I will say, so imagine being a fine artist and you make this deal. And, I met with the CEO and head of product development and a few other people. And, after finally discussing the overall plan of let's do this, let's create a complete lifestyle collection and brand it with your photo, your logo, and make sure that we put out a large collection. The next step was, okay, start designing. So, like I said, I'd never designed lamps before. I didn't have a lot of instruction on how should you design a lamp. I didn't go to college I didn't have any type of training on product development or AutoCAD or any of those type of things, drafting. I literally was a fine artist, and I just had lots of vision, lots of ideas, lots of concept. So the biggest challenge was, when it was finally time to draw out, sketch out a sideboard or a lamp or a coffee table or whatever it was my own challenge of how do I do this? They showed me a few examples of how things were laid out in design, but the rest of it was, here you have the opportunity to create anything that your mind can think of, and we'll make it. So the big challenge was, okay,
it's like, where do you even start? Yeah.
And I remember my first sketches literally were pretty simple, and I was just trying to figure it out. But I literally started getting the flow of it and understanding, okay, the more detail and the best that I'm able to show my vision and my concept, then we can eliminate a lot of redrawing and resketching and starting over. So I started to get a lot more elaborate and a lot more detail and, try to perfect my look of the sketches. But the biggest challenge is, like I said, the other day I was in the house and my wife was looking at me like I was crazy because I told her I'm sitting here in my head trying to visualize an entire room setting in my head before I start sketching out the sofa, the table, the sideboard, the pottery, the accessories, the lamp, in my head. So that could be challenging because having so much in front of you that you're able to do, now you have to try to control and narrow down and manage what you put out too.
Yeah. And because this is a lifestyle collection, are you ever imagining like whose lifestyle that you're designing for? You know what I mean? Like a target
Um,
audience almost.
yeah, so that's a good question too. My main customer is I want someone that is just looking for something stylish and unique, but I want to reach everybody, if that makes sense. I want everyone to be able to find something they like within my collection, you know? So similar to when I was doing fine art and art publishing for 20 years, a lot of artists kind of fade out over time because a lot of time it's a lot of changing of trends and subject matter, colors and all that. And it's a lot to keep up with if you want to stay relevant or even stay within the business and to stay in front of the art buyers. But yeah, so I try to constantly create, and I'm thinking ahead of time of how my design will work in someone's home. So if I'm doing a coastal collection, I'm doing some creative coastal designs. My goal is to reach someone that's tired of seeing the same coastal stuff that they see everywhere.
Yeah.
Same thing with a sofa or someone trying to decorate their living space or their living room or their den or whatever. I want someone to say, I like this. I've seen something similar before, but this is unique. This is different. I want this one because it's a little different, something there and I like differently, you know? And that's hard when it's so much out. I mean, you went to High Point. It's so much out. You literally need probably a month to walk around and see everything, really.
Yes.
You know? And the show is there for less than a week, but you really need a whole month to see every showroom and look at everything.
Yeah.
So it's so much art.
Fraction.
Oh my God. It's just so much out there, but to have anything that's noticeable and unique and to the point where it gets some type of recognition of, wow, this is different here. You know, it's very exciting unless you know that you have something that that you're working towards something that could be successful. So, but yeah, I am thinking of when I'm designing and creating, I'm constantly thinking of someone else's home, if that makes sense. And will someone walk around and will they walk past the lamp and then go back and say, whoa, this is different,
Yeah.
So that's my goal when I'm creating, just trying to make sure it's something slightly unique and interesting that makes the person have to have it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Some statement pieces that, add some interest to the room. And I love that, especially in residential design. I know when I was first getting started in the interior design industry, which was high school, I interned at a residential design firm. And all of the clients there, they loved like having a board of all the materials and finishes of what was in their home. Because it was like a conversation started like, oh, I have this like Philip Jeffries wall covering, or, oh, I have this, right? It was almost like, here's my like Louis Vuitton designer board of what I have in my home. And let's talk about the stories behind all of these brands. So I think that still reigns true, especially in residential design, where all of these unique pieces are telling a story behind the artist and telling a story of like why that homeowner or designer chose it to represent, whatever story and lifestyle that they are bringing to life in their home. So I love that.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah. So as you continue on, and I'm sure continue to make like hundreds, if not thousands of more pieces of art and interior products, like what do you see as next for Norman Wyatt Home and your brand?
So it's amazing because with Stylecraft, I'm used to there being a limit or amount of space for, this type of artwork or these many images for the release or this upcoming trade show. For Stylecraft, I said, so how much do I create? Like, how many should I do? The head of product development, her name is Christy. She told me, never stop creating. And I was like, what do you mean, never stop? She said, keep creating, just keep creating, because when we don't put in this show or this trade show or this launch, we're going to be constantly adding more products for the next trade show or for this market. So being a lifestyle brand is not just like one collection and you're done. They're constantly building up on it and constantly adding and accenting and putting more items into the collection, So it's possible to have thousands of products, within a few years, to be honest. If I did 153 in my first launch, and I have 3 more trade shows this year.
Oh my gosh.
I'm excited, but it's also like, constantly creating. But as far as what's next, so, after doing what I've been doing for 20 years, and this being a fine artist, you see, I have an original painting and behind me, I'm working on this huge painting. I'm constantly creating. and painting and working on something. But I started realizing that I guess my biggest gift is just vision altogether. It's just vision. So whatever God puts in my head or whatever I can see within my mind, I'm able to bring it to life in some form or another. So, I started with fine art. That just happened to be where I started. But now I'm excited with the lifestyle collection. And now I'm literally a furniture designer, a lamp designer.
Yeah.
So with design in general, I have ideas for so many other products. I mean, I want to do watches. I love watches. I want to do an amazing watch collection with a company or a licensing deal or partnership and some unique, once again, similar to the furniture, just a unique way of showing a watch or creating a watch. Rugs, that's big on my list. Talking to a few companies, but just trying to get that finalized and trying to get something happening there. But textiles and rugs, I can't wait for that because a lot of my artwork and textures and patterns are perfectly made for textiles and rugs. Just really excited about that. Eyeglasses. I mean, I've been wearing glasses since second grade. So, no, fourth grade.
Yeah.
So, matter of fact, I have a phone call soon with the eyeglass company trying to see if we can partner with that, just some unique way of making a Norman Wyatt collection of glasses, It's so many different things that's out there that, jewelry, housewares. I want to even have the Norman Wyatt Home pots and pans and air fryers. I want to, once again, take something that's out there and put my twist on it or put my color scheme or my texture on it, just to bring everything that I'm working on all together into a complete, collection of products.
Yeah. And don't forget hospitality that we talked about before. Hospitality. Yes. I could see something like graphic, a beautiful print in like a ballroom of a hotel. So add that to your list.
All of
yes,
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. All the guest room headboards.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's crazy. It's just like once you understand the possibilities or once you are open to the possibilities, then it's a matter of just making those connections and making those deals happen or even getting the exposure and getting the opportunity to show what else you can do. I'm so thankful that the CEO of Stylecraft responded to me on LinkedIn that night that I reached out.
Yeah.
And looked at what I was doing in the fine art field and how much I put out and my versatility and said, what do you want to do? Yeah. I'm just so thankful. I said everything. And it just started from a conversation to a few years going by with COVID and all that, and a little setback. And then before I knew it, flying down to Memphis to meet everybody and saying, okay, let's do a full lifestyle collection. So
that's amazing.
So the other companies out there, it's just a matter of those connections. And sometimes you just need an opportunity to show what's inside of you. And a lot of times that's not always possible, but hopefully what I've released with the lifestyle brand opens up so many more doors. It'll be something tangible and something pretty much proof of what's there and what's possible for a watch company or for an eyeglass company or for wallpaper or for all the other things, housewares, all the other things I want to do. I'm believing in, I'm knowing that the lifestyle collection is visual proof of what else is within me besides just fine art, prints, canvas,
Absolutely. That's amazing. And for all of the artists and designers that are inspired by your story and that are listening, what one piece of advice would you give to them?
So if they're interested in doing what I'm doing, one of the biggest things, and this is something I tell artists, I tell filmmakers, anybody, once you actually perfect your craft and you literally, have spent years and spent time developing something great, having something to show that's, what you can do, then you have to show, you have to be actively showing what you're doing on social media, LinkedIn, which is great. As a matter of fact, like I keep promoting LinkedIn. I made this huge lifestyle collection deal through LinkedIn and some other connections through LinkedIn, but constantly showing what you do. If no one can see it, they won't know what's inside of you. They don't know what you offer. So after you literally perfect and find your niche and find what you do or have perfected that unique look that you have, then you have to show. You have to actively show your work. If no one can see it, there's so many talented, gifted people that no one sees what they do. If you go to their Instagram or to their site, they may have 2 or 3 images up, So if you were trying to make a deal like I did, or you were interested in, expanding into all these other categories, one of the first things that a company wants to know is, let me see your portfolio. Let me see your work. Let me see what you have. And then you want to think ahead of how do you want to brand yourself? And I wish I had thought of this even earlier. Like, when I came out of college, I wasn't even thinking about it. We didn't really have a lot of social media when I was coming out of college. I'm a little older, so, but you can see, I'm a little older. But, just knowing ahead of, I want to do this in the future. This is where I want to go, So you can almost pretty much act ahead of time. I'm a fashion designer. I'm a product developer. I'm a lifestyle brand before it even happens, because you need to build up something and have that connection already kind of flowing and going so that when that once in a lifetime opportunity is placed in front of you, you're ready to go. No one literally has time to say, wow, I want to do a deal with you. Let me see what you have. Or let me see what you're about. I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. Give me some time. Nope. So be prepared. Perfect what you're doing to all the creatives, the artists. Perfect what you're doing. Do your research. Look around at the right companies too. Like if you literally have interest in a certain watch brand or certain company, whatever it is, or certain publisher, do some research. Look at how your artwork or whatever it is you do might even fit in with that specific company. It might be another company that's a better fit. So yeah. I hope that's good advice.
No, that definitely is good advice, especially, well, everything that you said was definitely good advice, but especially the part of just like showing what you have. Like, as I told you before, I was rearranging art in my home this weekend. And I just literally thought to myself, like, all of this talent has just been in my house.
Just sitting there.
And I just felt like literally deep down in my spirit, like, you can't just keep your talent in your home.
Right.
You know what I mean?
See, a lot of it. See, one thing about anything, any musician, any rapper, any poet, any actor, any artist, the confidence, first of all, of saying what I have, other people need to see it. That's kind of first, like
the mindset.
And it's not about being like bold and cocky and over the top. No, it's about what I'm doing, what I have inside of me. Other people, the world needs to see this. So it kind of starts there. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
I still try to stay grounded. I try to stay humble with everything because I know that it's so much out there and just people and artists and designers that are more talented and better, but no one in the world can do what I'm doing. Or no one else has these fingertips.
Exactly. I tell my friends all the time, like, you are the magic. You are the magic.
Only one. The only one that can do what I can do. You're the only one that can do what you can do. So
exactly.
Own that and then, work toward it. And you just have to think ahead of making those connections and, being prepared to show it, being prepared to discuss it. You have a lot of creatives that don't like to discuss what they're doing or describe what they were feeling or that whole other side. You were at my meet and greet, right? I had to talk to hundreds of people and be ready to drop of a dime to talk to an art buyer or a purchasing team from this store or that brand or whatever, and just constantly be prepared to discuss my product, my inspiration, and all that type of thing. So that's another side of it. When you enter into that world now, I'm in my art studio now, so it's no more like separate in your studio creating. You transition to thinking of yourself as a brand, And I've been a big dreamer since I was little, so I've already imagined me having my own show on HCTV or Magnolia, whatever it is, and my whole family, which is, my 3 kids are very creative. My wife was a travel nurse, but she's still part of the brand and everything. I've already imagined all this type of stuff. And so I try to visualize way ahead and just constantly dreaming of where I really want things to go and what I really believe is possible. So as you're moving forward, it's not a surprise when something comes that is getting you closer and closer to that reality. So
I love that. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, for anybody who's listening, who's like, hey, I need to collaborate with you. I need some of your art. I need some of this lifestyle collection. What are some ways that they can find you online?
So I have 2 websites, NormanWyattJr.com, which is being readjusted now. So please don't judge me on that. But then the newest website, since I launched the lifestyle brand, is NormanWyattHome.com. So I'm going to eventually just tie those 2 together and just make one website. But I can be reached on either one of those if anyone wants to see, some products, some artwork. A lot of my original art, I'm constantly creating new work. And, if you want to reach out to see some new work, you can just reach out to me on my website and I'll be glad to show you some of the newest work that I've done, which I will be, like I said, I'm going to reinvent the entire website, working with a designer now, actually. So I'll be adding all the new original art to that website if anyone's interested. I've been telling people, please purchase an original painting now.
Absolutely. The price
And
is
it's one of
going
those
up.
things where,
The value is going up.
well, it is more or less like I'm starting to see now my time, my energy is like all over the place now. I'm literally even on a holiday, I was designing products, try to take a break, but some ideas came, so I had to get it out. So yeah, I've been telling people that I know and just Facebook followers and Instagram followers, please purchase original art now because the price points will be rising the more that gets out in the market as more exposure and as more products and literally becoming, a lifestyle brand. So the creator of the artwork, the prices adjust along with the growth of the artist.
Absolutely.
Also, as far as the Stylecraft products, so at Hopwell Market, which you were there, that is for the trade. So, at that point, everything was released for the buyers, the store buyers, anyone that wants to put it out in their stores, boutiques, hotels, galleries. Very soon, those Stylecraft will be adding all products online for the everyday consumer to purchase. So,
excellent.
And it takes a while to upload all the products. Like I said, I got 153.
Listen, I already have a couple items picked
Okay,
out.
you have some on your list already?
Yeah.
So they will be on like Overstock, Wayfair, and some of the online stores. So very soon, like it's in the process now.
Excellent.
Very soon, everyday customer can just purchase and buy all the stuff that's currently out.
Yeah.
You can also go to stylecrafthomecollection.com and go under designers and see my name, Norman Wyatt Jr. And then you're able to at least see everything that's been released. And then you kind of, like I said, plan like you did, look around and know what you want when it's ready to come out. So
excellent. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see your continued success. I'm so happy that we are now connected. And I'm sure everybody who's listening to the show will be inspired from everything from you starting as a fine artist at 8 years old, taking high school classes, to then becoming an art teacher, to continuing on in fine art and painting, to now launching this amazing lifestyle collection. And really, you just scratched the surface in everything that you're about to do. So I'm excited. So thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
And thanks for inviting me. And it was so great to meet you at Hopwell Market and just glad to be acquainted. So
thanks for joining us this week on Thrive in Design. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Thrive in Design. And for more strategies on how your product company can innovate in the interior design industry, head to training.thriveindesign.co. As always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to create captivating content. That was a wrap for this season, but we'll see you soon.